Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of Friday mail for you today. A nice, calm, sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, nice and tranquil. No sign of things to come. Hoo-hoo. Snowstorm is on the way for this weekend. It looks like, I mean, these things go wrong. These things get misplaced all the time. But it looks to me, just looking at data, not listening to any bubble-headed bleach blonde, just looking at data, it looks to me like this could be the real thing. Not a dusting that's gone in an hour, not a threat that never materializes, but an actual snowstorm. I'm looking at the information, the same information that trained meteorologists are looking at, and I am trying to see some of the purported numbers. The upper range of the purported numbers is that Boston might get 10 inches of snow, which would be taller than my little bean. I really doubt that will happen. But either way, it's going to be a wild night on Saturday. I feel so sorry for the people who, my old world of retail, at the bigger chains and the bigger stores think nothing of scheduling someone for a barbaric shift where they're leaving home at 3 in the afternoon and they're just going to work until the middle of the night or whatever. And there are also people whose actual important jobs have hours like that. And all I'm doing is thinking about them going out in that weather. I'm hoping that a lot of places take a look at the forecast. I believe there's also a winter storm warning up in effect for southern New England. I'm hoping that people take a look at those warnings and just ease off. It's not like you're giving these kinds of clemencies to your workers every other day. We've barely had a winter in the last 5 years, so I would hope that nobody will do anything tomorrow night, that everybody will just batten down the hatches if the snow really does fly like that. The day should be clear, so we might get mail tomorrow, but we have some mail today to look at. I have tried to remember to do the reviewer's handicap, where we talk about the actual mechanics of reviewing these books if you get them in the mail. A number of you are new to the channel. I've had a number of emails, more than usual. I think the discrete gap of time, a month where I was not making videos, allowed for the accumulation of a lot of new people. So it wasn't a gradual drip, drip, drip. Instead, there was a group of people who are new to this channel, seeing my email, hearing me say, you're welcome to email me at any time, for any reason, who are doing that. And they've been wondering. They've been wondering about books in the mail and also about reviewers' handicap. I'm not sure that handicapping these books, by that I mean not just telling you about the book, but going over what to do with it as a book that you get if you're a reviewer. I'm not sure how generally interesting that is. I don't think I have any. I don't think I have more than 2 or 3 even potential reviewers who watch this channel. So maybe we'll go light on it, unless you demand it. Those new people, of course, new people and old people alike, are all welcome to email me. I'm a lonely old shut-in. I live on my computer. With a few caveats, just a few caveats. Your email is not homework. I'm offering my email addresses so that you can reach out to a friend, and that friend can reach back. So if you send an email that is just Factboy, it's just, here's a list of 10 things. I've had people over the years, hundreds of people actually, not only give me a list of things, subjects on which they want detailed recommendations, but also actually list them. Just make it a list. It's not even a conversational email. You do something like that, you treat me as Factboy, I'm going to ignore your email. And if you send me a doctoral dissertation, if you send me an email that's 6,000 words long, I'm going to ignore it. Obviously, since that's not what email's about. If you send me an unbelievably self-indulgently long email, I'm probably going to mentally slot it as work and ignore it. And even if I don't mentally slot it as work, even if I remember to write it, I've had so many bad experiences with such things, where people are so up their own Suez Canal that they just don't realize that they share the world with other people, much less that they are actually initiating contact with a legitimate other person. They just don't realize it. It's just 100% them and nobody else. To the point where I've had people send me, a 6,000 word email. I write back on a few points. Oh, this is interesting. I hadn't thought of that. What do you think of this? And they write back and say, well, here's my answer to your question, but what about all the other points in my email? But most of you get the gist of it, and you can feel free to do that. But we'll go light on the reviewing handicapping just in case it's not of interest, to many people here. Oh, I recognize the livery here. Oh, very nice. Okay, all right. Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. This is a Library of America volume. This is the Speeches and Other Writings of John Quincy Adams. In the classic black Library of America dust jacket design here with a red, white, and blue banner along the side there. I believe that 2025 and 2026 will be the last years that Library of America looks like this. Then the band that goes around the dust jackets will be orange. But for now, it's red, white, and blue. And this is a perfect companion volume to a great Library of America production that we've seen on this channel. They did a 2-volume box set of the diaries, the diary that John Quincy Adams kept for his entire life. One of the most invaluable and interesting American documents of all time. Library of America finally saved that from library yard sales and dusty old hardcovers that I used to have, and printed it in a lovely box set. But that wasn't all that JQA wrote. He also wrote speeches and some essays. And so here we have this volume. That's fantastic. I think this is a February release. So if Library of America is going to do me the kindness of sending it to me, I'm going to do them the favor of writing about it. So I'll put that I'll check the date and then put that on the February pile. The February pile has gotten quite robust. So let's see what this next one is. There's the baby bean. I have not had the courage to tell Her Highness that snow may be coming, that a large amount of snow may be coming. I have not had the courage to tell her that. I'm pretty sure that she has never experienced snow over her head. And I know that she's not going to like it. I know that she's not. But maybe it won't get that way. Maybe it won't be that bad. So what is this next one? Oh, right. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, this comes out in late March. This is by Hallie Rubenhold, and it is called The Story of a Murder, The Wives, the Mistress, and Dr. Crippin. It's a new book about the Crippin murder case. Once upon a time, probably 50 years ago, that name was one to conjure with. I don't think these things really stick in the mind, except for Jack the Ripper, who was the subject of this author's last book. But the Crippin murder case was once upon a time incredibly famous. Do I have a pub sheet? People aren't sending me pub sheets anymore. Well, let's read the back here. In this epic examination of one of the most infamous murders of the 20th century, the author gives voice to those who were never properly heard, the women. There is no aspect of the Crippin murder case where the people were not properly heard, no matter who, no matter what. The Stones in the basement were interviewed. But that's all right, we'll move on. On February 1st, 1910, the vivacious, diamond-adorned music hall performer Belle Elmore suddenly vanished from her home, causing alarm among her friends and entertainers at the Music Hall Ladies Guild. Their demands for an investigation would lead to the unearthing of a gruesome secret and trigger a fevered international manhunt for Belle's husband, medical fraudster Dr. Harley Harvey Crippin. Ethel Leneve, Crippin's typist and lover, who fled with Crippin in disguise, has always hidden in the shadows of this tale. Was she really just an innocent young girl enthralled to a powerful older man, or was there an equally sinister story behind the death of Crippin's first wife, Charlotte? Brimming with twists and featuring a carnival of cast of eccentric characters, star lawyers, zealous detectives, medics, and liars, this book offers an electrifying snapshot of Britain and America at the dawn of the modern era. Fantastic. Just fantastic. Can't wait to read this. I will read because I'm piled with February books, and this is still well more than a month away. Crippin's typist and lover has not been overshadowed in this story. There've been numerous books devoted just to her, which this book apparently is not. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know that I like this author. I like the 5. I think a lot of you did too. So that's great. True crime. And only not the true crime that I'm submerging myself in, that I have been submerging myself in. This is not a serial killer. This is just a killer. So, also not what is called in the literature a family annihilator, where yes, you're killing multiple people, but you have a different designation than serial killer because they're all related to you. They're the people who are least likely to suspect that you will kill them. An extra horror involved in the the sociology, but also the psychology of family annihilators. And I'm really hoping that my patron, the person who paid me a rather healthy amount of money last year to write about serial killers, to research serial killers, I'm really hoping that that person is not drifting in the direction of family annihilators. Because if there's anything more depressing than serial killers, it's family annihilators. I really do not... I can read about John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer and Dean Corll until our cows come home. I can do that. But reading about Chandler Halverson, reading about these people who just seem normal and then they kill their own family. I mean, take any of the people that I met. Well, not Dean Corll, but John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer, two of the most famous 20th century American serial killers, did not kill family members. They did not. Jeffrey Dahmer's grandmother, her sweet saintly grandmother, when he was living with her and living on her, he had no job of his own, when he was living with her in her home, she routinely did things that directly, incendiarily angered him. She threw away a sex prop. She was constantly complaining with him, constantly nagging him to go to church and find Jesus. And he didn't cross the line. He did not kill her. He didn't kill his mother when she did mostly the same thing, mostly annoyed the crap out of him. He didn't do it. I'm not saying that he was still a monster, but John Wayne Gacy didn't kill family members either, and they annoyed him plenty. And with family annihilators, often they will kill their family even though their family is not annoying them. So I don't know how we got on that subject. We're moving from, we were just talking about a killer. Crippin was a killer. And it's a great story. I don't know if you've ever read a book on the subject. I believe I've read every mainstream recapitulation of the crime. I haven't read any of the specialist stuff, but I believe I've read every book on the subject, including the really popular one from about 40 years ago. So great to have it again, and with an experienced writer. That's wonderful. So let's see. This next one does have a pub sheet. This comes out, again, late March, same time. This is by Rebecca Lemoff, and it is called The Instability of Truth: Brainwashing, Mind Control, and Hyper-Persuasion, for late March. Because brainwashing affects both the world and our observations of the world, we often don't recognize it while it's happening, unless we know where to look. In this book, the author writes that brainwashing erases itself. What we call brainwashing is more common than we think. It is not so much what happens to other people as what can happen to anyone. The instability of truth exposes the myriad ways our minds can be controlled against our will, from the brainwashing techniques used against American POWs in North Korea to the soft brainwashing of social media doom scrolling and behavior shaping. In our increasingly data-driven world, anyone can fall victim to mind control. Right, the age-old lefty slogan, "You are not immune to propaganda." The author identifies invasive forms of emotional engineering that exploit trauma and addiction to coerce and persuade in everyday life. Tracing the word brainwashing from deep in the files of an operative of the U.S. Office of Strategic Services in the 1950s to the pioneering research of Robert J. Lifton, I knew he was going to come up. I didn't think he'd be in the pub sheet, but I knew he was going to come up. Oh, the stories I could tell you about Robert J. Lifton. To the public trial of cult leaders and the case of Patty Hearst, Lemov also studies how the idea of mind control has spread across the globe and penetrated courtrooms, secret labs, military schools, and today's digital sites. Patty Hearst was not brainwashed. She was simply lying. Okay. This book offers lessons from mind control episodes past and present. Truth is always subject to question in more mundane walks of life than most people believe. No, it is not. And the author equips us for the increasing challenges we face from social media, AI, and an unprecedented global form of surveillance capitalism. Okay, all right. Well, I'm clearly going to disagree with this book a lot, but I'm probably still going to enjoy it. Who is the author when she's at home? Do we have any information on you? A historian of science at Harvard University and has been a visiting scholar at the Max Planck Institute. Good Lord. Okay. Qualified much. Her research explores data, technology, and the history of the human behavioral sciences, and she lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right across the river from me. I'm obviously going to argue with this book quite a bit. It is saying that brainwashing is prevalent, that it's universal, and that it's hard to detect, and that it's hard to elude. And in response to that, in the 21st century, I say it was obviously a Nazi salute. Now, if you're saying no, it wasn't, well, then this is not the book for you, or maybe it is. But I said 20 years ago, when reality TV was all the rage on TV, I told friends who came over for wine and calzones 20 years ago, I said, this is really dangerous. Much more dangerous than people are saying. Because for most people out there, this could blur the line between what's real and what's not. This is calling itself reality TV. There isn't a single word of it that isn't scripted. There isn't anything real about it. But it's calling itself reality TV, and it's positioning itself. It's trying to look like reality TV, but it's not. It's all acting. This is scripted from start to finish. These are hired actors. But I worry that pumping too much of this straight at the American public all night long, every night. Remember when so-called reality TV shouldered out all the programs that we ordinarily watched on the Nielsen ratings? I remember telling people, this is really dangerous, because the people who are on this stuff, including a washed-up New York real estate mogul, well, what if the public starts to believe the stuff that they're saying about themselves in these scripted TV shows? Like that they're a great deal maker or something. What happens then? We'll see. I'll be interested to see how much historical research is in here. I would hope that there's quite a bit, and that maybe the author is not going to go out on the branch of talking about so much about social media brainwashing, because I believe very little brainwashing actually happens on social media. What happens on social media and off social media, what governs the Western world, is tribalism. It's not that you are seeing someone give a Nazi salute and saying, well, I don't really know if that was a Nazi salute. Didn't the Romans do that? Hasn't that always been the way that we've said, my heart goes out to you? When I went to the local community center and someone told me that their house burned down, didn't I make the Nazi salute to tell them my heart goes out to you? And didn't they say, oh, thank you? It's not that people really believe that. Everyone looking at that knew what it was. Everyone looking at it knew that that is not common. That is not the way people have ever said my heart goes out to you. The people who are claiming that that is what they saw are not brainwashed. They just know that's the claim of their tribe. That's their team. And they have to do it. The team is everything. When the team wins, you win. So the saying goes. So if my team is going to say that was not a Nazi salute, then not only am I going to say it wasn't a Nazi salute, I'm going to make that salute on social media that my grandkids are going to be able to see. And I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my partner. I'm going to lose all my current relatives. They're all going to leave. None of them are going to speak to me again. But when the team wins, everybody wins, except none of the leaders of my team know that I did that, and they also took my health care. Anyway. Obviously an incendiary subject. Not sure I will write about it, because you can see what happens when I touch on it. So it might not be a good idea to write about it. It might not be possible to write about it. But let's move on here. See if we can find something a little more Stevie, a little more Steve-esque, a little less hot button. Okay. All right, this will do. This is in early March, it's a finished copy of Inside the Stargazer's Palace by Violet Muller. As we don't get books commissioned by men. We don't get books proofread by men. We don't get books read by men. We don't get books sold to men. We don't get books represented in talent agencies by men. Not proofread, not publicized, not anything, and not about, probably. Let's see. The subtitle here is The Transformation of Science in the 16th Century Europe. Precisely 0 women participated in that. Precisely 0 women did. Let's see. Let's see if that's reflected in the pub sheet. Enter the mysterious world of 16th century science, where astronomers and alchemists shared laboratories. In 1543, Nicholas Copernicus declared the Earth revolved around the sun, overturning centuries of scholastic presumption. A new age was coming into view, one guided by observation, technology, and logic. So another book on the dawning of the so-called Age of Reason. That'll be my second one this year. But omens and elixirs did not disappear from the 16th century laboratory. Charms and potions could still be found nestled between glistening brass instruments and leather-bound tomes. The lines between the natural and supernatural remained porous, yet to be defined. Yeah, and you can still find those things. There's a shop, not 10 minutes from where I live that is devoted to charms and potions and whatnot. From the icy Danish observatory of Tycho Brahe to the sulfur-stained workshop of John Dee, the author tours the intellectual heart of early European science, exploring its rich, multidisciplinary culture. Inside the Stargazer's Palace reveals a dazzling, forgotten world where all knowledge, no matter how arcane, could be pursued in good faith. Baby, are you going to come down? Are you starting to make fuss to come down? Oh, you got a little bean yoga right there. Are you going to come down here, baby? Oh. Oh, there you go. Ooh, your eye in the chair. Are you going to try that? No? You're just going to stick right here? All right. All right. Where all knowledge, no matter how arcane, could be pursued in good faith. So, another Steve Bugboo. In addition to, women did all of that research. Didn't you know? Didn't you notice? In addition to that is another trend that has been popping up in more and more popular science and history books, which is to say that alchemy was real, which is to say that those potions did work, and that we really shouldn't be shaming anyone for pursuing quackery. And we'll see. Maybe Violet Muller avoids both of those things. Let's check her biography. See, is she very, very young? She is. She's young. Let's see. A critically acclaimed and award-winning historian, never heard of her before, who has written 4 previous books, including The Map of Knowledge. Okay, and she lives in Oxford. All right, well, she's got lots of blurbs here, so this comes out, what did we say? Early March? That's not that far away, in a finished copy, so great. Let's push on here. I guess my little parenthetical quasi-rant there was that indigenous science is not science. Indigenous science is not science. Indigenous science is not science. Science is testable. It's falsifiable. It's repeatable. It's duplicatable without dogma. If the thing you're doing is a folk remedy of some kind, then it's not science. And if it's not science, it's not reliable. So, anyway, what is this next one? All right, we do have the pub sheet. Who is the woman who writes this one? And who is the woman who represents her? And who is the woman who was her editor? And who is the woman who is her publisher? Let's see. This is due in June. This is A Case of Mice and Murder by Sally Smith. So this is our first fiction. A Case of Mice and Murder. This is the first in a delightful new mystery series following reluctant sleuth Sir Gabriel Ward, King's Counsel. Set in the heart of London's legal world. This is a whip-smart and well-plotted mystery informed by Smith's career as a barrister and later King's Counsel living in the Inner Temple. A world of its own, the Inner Temple offers the perfect setting for unlocking the secrets and history within, and just so happens to be where Smith has spent her entire working life and gets her inspiration for this mysterious murder. Okay, so what is the murder? Founded by the Knights Templar in the 12th century and inherited by lawyers, the Inner Temple is the independent enclave in the city of London, much like the Vatican in Rome. Okay, but what is the murder? When Sir Gabriel Ward, K.C., steps out of his rooms on a sunny May morning in 1901. So, we've got a siren. They're so rare that I actually treasure them now. No, it stopped. Okay. The neighborhood is now deserted. I have no idea why. It must be because I smell. The neighborhood is deserted. There's never any traffic. There are never any sirens or alarms or anything like that. As I mentioned on a live stream, my dog and I could walk down the middle of the street on our evening walks, and we wouldn't need to move out of the way at all. Don't know why. No idea why. Traffic rerouted somewhere. Some aerial infectious agent that nobody's told me about that I'm not vulnerable to. Who knows? When Sir Gabriel Ward, K.C., steps out of his rooms on a sunny May morning in 1901, his mind is preoccupied by his latest case, the disputed authorship of best-selling children's book Millie the Temple Church Mouse. Hence the mouse on the cover. Okay, disputed authorship. 1901. So that's King Edward? Is that why it's KC and not QC? Is it King Edward? My guy? Um, and he scarcely registers the body of the Lord Chief Justice of England on his doorstep, barefoot and with a silver carving knife sticking out of his chest. Until now, murder has spent centuries confined firmly to casebooks in the shaded courtyards and ancient buildings of the inner temple. As per the tradition of the temple, police can only enter by consent. So who better to investigate this tragic breach of law and order than a man who prizes both above all things? But murder doesn't answer to logic or reasoned argument, and Gabriel soon discovers that the temple's heavy oak doors are hiding more surprising secrets than he'd ever imagined. Through the search for the murderer and the uncovering the identity of the author of Millie the Temple Mouse, we're really going to look for that. So it's really going to center around the authorship of a children's book. He comes to see how these storylines might intertwine. Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. I am sold. So this comes out a long time from now, June. So I don't have to think about it for a long time. Probably I won't get kicked to really pay this attention until I get the finished copy. Great. All right. And then we have the final package. Let's see what the woman who wrote this book has to say on what subject and what kind of design was given to her book designers, who are all female, and what kind of deal was given by her agent, who's a woman, and what kind of editing job was done by her editors, all of whom are women. What the? Okay, this book appears to have been written by a man. That's a little odd. that's noteworthy. This also comes out in June. This is by James Crossland. I don't know what's going on there. He must be gay. But anyway, the book is Rogue Agent: From Secret Plots to Psychological Warfare, the Untold Story of Robert Bruce Lockhart. So we get back to psychological warfare, and we've got Tom Holland, noted Spider-Man actor, on the cover there. So what have we got here? Diplomat, conspirator, intelligence gatherer, propagandist, and charmer, Rogue Agent tells the colorful story of London's key agent in Moscow during the first half of the 20th century, Sir Robert Bruce Lockhart. Okay, so was he in Russia when a case of mice and murder is taking place in the Inner Temple? Sir Robert Bruce Lockhart, who lived from 1887 to 1970, was an impressive figure who played a vital role in both world wars. He was a man who charmed his way into the confidences of everyone from Leon Trotsky to Anthony Eden. A man, okay, a man whom if you think you charmed your way into the confidences of Anthony Eden, you are mistaken. You are mistaken. Even his father confessor looked through the grill at him and said, "What kind of game are you playing here?" Anyway, a man whom the influential Baron Lord Beaverbrook claimed, a press baron, Lord Beaverbrook, claimed, quote, "could well have been prime minister." Yes, right, and I am the Shah of all the Russias. And yet, Lockhart died almost forgotten and near destitute, a Scottish footnote in the pages of history. This book is the first biography of this gifted yet habitually flawed maverick. That isn't true. Is that true? I could swear there was a UK biography of this guy about 35 years ago. I can almost picture the cover. Maybe they mean first US biography. It chronicles his many exploits, from his time as Britain's agent in Moscow to his role in a plot to bring down the communist regime to his leadership in the Political Warfare Executive, a secret body responsible for disinformation and propaganda during World War II. And that's where maybe I'm thinking of him from a book about World War II and not a biography. No, I could swear it was a biography, because I remember reading about his tedious childhood. Well, anyway, let's see here. Exploring Lockhart's unorthodox thinking and contributions to the development of psychological warfare, as well as his hedonistic lifestyle, late nights, and many affairs that left him in a state of perpetual debt and emotional turmoil, this book presents the thrilling and dramatic tale of this unconventional war hero. Okay. Fantastic. And this is James Crossland's first book to be published in America. How wonderful. How wonderful for him. Okay, so that's another June release. That's a long way off. I didn't do any review handicapping in this video, did I? Well, obviously, some of these things are in better condition than others. If you've got a June release, you've got all the time in the world to pitch it to an editor. The key thing here is that you don't want to pitch something to an editor if you're sure that their calendars are already made up. And almost any venue something that's getting to you right now as a hardcover, it's too late. But June releases, you can interest an agent probably more in this than in this. This is the first in a series. It's got a really colorful plot synopsis. But you never know. It's the author's first book in America, so that's something. So we have 2 June releases: Rogue Agent and A Case of Mice and Murder. We have Inside the Stargazer's Temple. This one is obviously a long shot because its pub date is so soon. We have 2 other. These 2 are March. Might have more of a chance there. The Instability of Truth, and The Story of a Murder, the Crippin murder case, with a new history. And finally, a real tough sell in terms of reviewer handicapping is this Library of America thing. It's almost impossible. It's a reprint volume, first of all. They all are. And usually it's a fairly abstruse thing. Someone, somewhere, could pitch the daylights out of this thing at 6,000 words for the London Review of Books. And if you have a good enough CV, they might consider it. It'd be their sort of thing to do. And I think probably that volume might get a 3,000 word write-up in the New York Review of Books. Maybe. But a normal review journal will not review Library of America volumes at all. They won't do it at all. And certainly not the speeches of John Quincy Adams. They certainly won't do that. But I will write about it. Definitely, I'll have a ball writing about it. So there you go. There's the mail for a suspiciously calm Friday with an actual winter storm on the way to Boston this weekend. Unless the gods themselves intervene. Ordinarily, I take these things with a big grain of salt. But it looks to me like this is going to happen. It looks to me like this weekend we're going to get several inches of snow. And I'll be your Johnny on the spot reporting the whole time. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.